Alright, so let's do the knobs. So let's start playing with my knobs. So these, yeah, they're quite small, small knob. So we don't really need to do that much on it. Let's just give them a color, just keep it very simple. I mean, you could do more with it if you wanted to, but I'm just gonna keep it very simple. Or maybe we could just like pick a color from here. And then go to subsurface scattering, add some subsurface scattering, make it like pretty small because they're like not that big. We could maybe, or maybe do like a purplish tint for that. And then a more, for the smaller scale, let's do a little bit reddish and darker reddish for. So let's do. So they are like super small. I think in my final render they were a little bit bigger, but I mean they're so small that it doesn't really. Let's do. Not sure on the color. Let's do even smaller subsurface scattering. Maybe make the color a little bit more purplish. Something like that, I guess. I mean, just play around with the look you want, but just a very basic color for this is fine. I guess you could detail it more. Like if you were to have a scene where you would like be super close up these things, I guess you would spend more time working on it, but they're quite small now. So something like this, I think is fine. Maybe we could change the specular a little bit, make it a little bit less specular, a little bit more rough. But yeah, in general, let's just call the knobs fine like this, and let's focus on the eyes because those are a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'm actually, for the eyes, I'm going to change the eye model a little bit than what we did in the modeling section. So I added some, if you're in the final render, you can see there's this sort of, the eyes sort of look like they're in sort of a sack of fluid or something that's contracting, and I kind of like that look. Because originally the eyes were just like completely white. You can see that in the breakdown over here. So in a bit, and I just didn't feel like that fit. So I tried to like, they used to be just white like that, but I kind of didn't like that look. So what I did is I ended up using the reflection pass and then using a UV pass with like, so I did something in compositing to sort of mix that in. So that was done in compositing, but need to change the, so I ended up re-rendering the eyes for that with a different UV. But since we're still here and we haven't done any final renders yet, let's change the model of the eye to, well, to reflect what we are going to be doing later. Right, so this is the model now, and I ended up in the final thing, I ended up having a pupil on two sides because the eyes were rotating, and I kind of liked that we would see more pupils. And I think this, yeah. So let's just do it. So let's start changing the eye model a little bit. So and also add the pupil just on two sides. All right, so let's do change some selections. So it's now on this side. So we don't even need to change some selections, by the way. Let's just start doing some other stuff. Let's mirror it later. So let's delete all of our points that are, so let's do a attribute, or let's do a delete on points. So let's go on here. Let's go points. And then say by expression, and then say that at p.c if it's above 0, if it's below 0. All right. Let's say 0.01 because we do want to. Okay, so minus 0.0. So because we do want to keep some of that. Okay, so now we keep some of that and we can later mirror it. And that might make more sense. Then we only need to do something once. All right, so let's do these selections again. So let's say that we want to select these parts. Press enter. Okay, then we get that. Also select these. So you can see this is not procedural anymore because we were using point selections. All right, let's do UV flatten. Let's just don't put anything in there because this is basically what we need. We can get rid of the UV pelt. We can use UV layout because then it will just be laid out like that. Right, and now let's mirror it. So let's put a mirror. If we select it, then we can sort of rotate in a viewport and we kind of know which direction we kind of want to. Okay, so it should be 0 and -1. Okay, so then we get a eye that looks like that on both sides. Oh, before we do that, we might want to do the group for the iris before that. So let's group the iris. Let's just group that part, right? Now let's have a look. Yeah, okay, now we have the iris on both parts. Then we have a UV that looks like this, so they're nicely stacked. So we'll be making a custom AUV for this later. So I'll explain what a custom AUV is in a bit, but just make sure you change this model. And now let's shade the model. So the eyes are actually very simple. So let's go in there. So I didn't really do too much with the shading of the eyes. Let's just have a look through our camera. Right, there we are. Let's press reload. See if it's looking through the correct. Yeah, okay. Let's wait for the thing to appear. All right, so let's just go into these eyes. And let's just say that we want to do a vector mix. Let's just put in 2 colors. So just do a absolute color. Let's go from to white. So white. Maybe not absolute white because we never want absolute white. So let's do that. And then 2 black. So almost black, but not quite black. And then we have this attribute, remember, that we put that was called iris, I think. Let's see if we still have that attribute. So let's have a look in our inspection. Let's see. Okay, so it's not there yet. So let's have a look. So is it up here? Because we need an attribute, right, for the iris. Okay, so the iris attribute is there. Doesn't seem to be there anymore. Let's see if we unpack it, because we have packed geometry. So okay, so it is there, but it was just packed in it. So remember, if you have packed geometry, then it's treated as points. So these are treated as points, but if you unpack them, then the attributes that are packed within it are still there. And Redshift can read these packed attributes as well, because it will just unpack it at render time. Okay, so we can just use a attribute, put in iris, put type iris, that. All right, and let's plug it into the material, and let's set a render region and press render. All right, there is our iris. So I didn't do too much with the materials. Let's just change a little bit. So let's, I guess, maybe do a little bit of roughness, decrease the reflection. Let's have a look at my original material. I think I had some subsurface gathering, but I don't think that made that much of a difference. I did do some subsurface gathering, but I didn't think it made that much of a difference. We could probably just leave it out, or we could have a go at it. Do like maybe do it a little bit. So point based, a small radius. We could maybe add a little bit of refraction, so it maybe refracts the. Let's have the eye bit. Let's see what that will do if I actually crank it up, how it will look. Let's go into the. Oh, that looks scary. I've thought about going for a look like this before, but yeah, not. I mean, it was too scary. So that's why I went with the sort of in between of the just having sort of these eye sac type things that I did in compositing. Let's see in my squid thing. Let's go into. Where is it? Okay, that's looking okay. Let's just crank this up. Let's just keep it like that. I mean, we're gonna do the eye, the stuff in the shader anyway. I'm just gonna turn down the fraction. Right, so let's have a look at these custom AOVs that I was talking about that we can use to get this look inside of compositing later on. Okay, so remember we have this UV, which is going to the squid, go to scene view. So we have this UV, and what we can do is that we can actually we can have an attribute inside of compositing that will have the UV information. And then what that means is that we can, because UVs are meant to stick textures to something, right? Well, we can also use that to stick texture to the eye inside of compositing. So that's what I did with the, if you look in the breakdown. So I stuck just a white texture with sort of a black in between that was like expanding and decreasing. And I used that to mix in the reflection pass. Okay, so we need to tell Redshift to be able to render the UV pass. So we need to do that with a custom attribute or a custom AOV, because I don't think they are there by default. So let's go into our, let's make AOV. Is our renderer still running that it's this slow, or we should pause it in that case? Let's have a look. I'm gonna turn this on. Okay, so there's not a UV pass, I think, by default. You can have a look, maybe they did add it in the meantime, but I don't think so. No, I don't see it. Okay, let's make a custom one. That's what I did as well. So let's put it to custom. That means custom AV, you can put any attribute you want, you can put it in custom. So we could have also put the iris attribute in there if we want to. Let's call it UV pass. This is going to be our UV pass. And in order to be able to tell what attribute should go in here, we need to put something in the material. So let's go into our squid eyes material, type AOV. And then what do we want to store to the UV pass? Well, if you remember, a UV is has three is a vector. So because it has X, Y, and Z. The Z is not generally used that much, but it has X, Y, and Z. So we want to store color to AOV because it's a vector. Let's plug it in there. Whoop. Right, now let's load an attribute in here. And it's going to be a vertex attribute because we have vertex UVs. I'm going to type UV. Then we're going to plug it in here. And then we're going to call it UV pass because it needs to match whatever we're doing here. Okay, so if I press render now, it will complain and not work. I have not figured out why exactly. I think that has maybe something to do with the materials being nested, and it will only extract them properly if it's a separate object. So, because I can show you if you want. So let's press render. It's gonna complain. It's gonna complain for a little bit probably. Let's wait for it. So you can see found conflicting uses of types vertex stream UV. I think it might have something to do with also other, like there are some UVs on there, but I'm not sure. But like the UV pass now is completely black. So what we're gonna do instead is I'm gonna turn this off. Right. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go into my RNDR squid. I'm going to delete the eyes. So goodbye eyes. Let's just make an output. And let's put another one here. Or let's just not do that. Let's just copy and paste RNDR squid. Type RNDR eyes. Let's go in there. Just put this to non-selected. So this will only be the eyes. Let's go into our outdrop object. So let's select the both of them. So RNDR squid and RNDR eyes. Let's accept. Save. Let's press render and see what it will do. Okay, so now you can see in our, so this is now rendering properly. So if you look in beauty, you see it. But in UV pass, you see we have colors. So these colors are our UV. So we can use these in compositing later on. So we're going to do that in the in the extra extended part where we're going to put the whole scene together, which again is Patreon exclusive. You can find that on timvanhelsdinger.com in the whole index, and you can find that at the bottom once you finished all these videos. So yeah, that basically finishes up the squid rendering part. So yeah, it's me again. So yeah, this concludes the regular shading part of the course, which of course is the last part that you can watch within the $20 tier. So if you enjoyed all of the content up until now and you want to continue learning, again, all of the stuff is ready when you are in the $50 tier. Remember, if you have already been a Patreon for a while and your total pledge history is above $50, you can just continue watching. If it's not, you can just up until the level that you need to up it to get to the total pledge history, and then you'll be able to watch it. So hopefully I'll see you in the next part of the course, and well, if not, then I hope you really enjoyed what you saw until now, and well, if you do, then thanks for continued support, and let's dive into the next video where we'll start putting everything together and really yeah, make our scene come alive.